Hello, hello, it's Dr. Pam here. I am a bit tardy to the party tonight. I apologize, but I'm here. So I'm going to go on and get started. I'm not going to be with you long since I'm starting late. But I am Dr. Pam Middleton, your virtual holistic physician. Through my books, programs, and services, I help families achieve and maintain health and wellness through inside-out healing. So tonight, I want to talk to you about the difference between the cold and the flu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you 5 ways to differentiate between the cold and the flu. So, way number 1 is the onset of symptoms. When you have a cold, your symptoms kind of come on slowly. You know that feeling. You kind of start off with the scratchy throat, maybe you're a little bit congested, then you start coughing, sneezing. So it takes a few days for the cold to really hit you. Whereas the flu, you just get hit bam, you are sick. You are out, down for the count. Okay? So that first thing, the onset of symptoms. The second thing would be body aches. So generally, if you have a cold, you really don't have major body aches. I mean, after you've been coughing for a while, you may have some soreness in your abdominal area from, where you've been using those muscles to cough, or a little bit of soreness maybe in your chest area, once again, if you've been coughing a lot. But with the flu, you're going to have some serious body aches, okay? Now, number 3, fatigue and weakness. With a cold, you're really not that fatigued and weak. I mean, you kind of just don't feel well, but you're not really fatigued and weak. But with the flu, once again, it's like somebody knocked you out. I like to say it's like you got hit by a Mack truck. You're just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So it would be obvious. And number 4, and this one, I want to caution you because I think this one varies between children and adults, but fever and chills. So traditionally, you don't really get fever and chills with a cold, but you can. And that's why I said it can vary between children and adults. Now, a lot of the children I've been seeing a lot of kids with colds recently. A lot of them do have fevers, and they really only have a cold. They do not have the flu. So I think with younger children, they are going to be more likely to have a fever. But especially when you're talking about grown folks with fever and chills, that's not very common for a cold. But that is very common for the flu. Okay, and number 5, and this one can kind of go along with number 4 sometimes, is a headache. Okay, so headaches with colds can be rare, but they can happen. And if you do have a fever, a lot of times a fever will give you a headache. Okay, and then of course with the flu, it's very common. Now, I will say, hi, Bobby, how are you? Thanks for joining. Now, I actually am currently suffering from a cold. It's not extremely bad because I know all of the cool homeopathic and natural things to take to kind of keep it at bay. But when it first started, because this is probably part 2, because why? I didn't take care of myself the way I'm supposed to, because I try to practice what I preach, but sometimes I don't quite do that. So I haven't been getting enough rest. And you've heard me say rest is very, very important when you're dealing with the immune system. So I thought I had totally recovered from this cold, and then bam, it hit again. But what I wanted to share with you was when I first started coming down with the cold symptoms, I had a headache, a really bad headache. And I did not have the flu. But, I just wanted you to know that these aren't all in stone. But, for the most part, you feel really bad when you have the flu. And your child can feel really bad with the flu. Colds generally just run their course, within a couple of weeks. And actually, the flu too will run its course within a couple of weeks, but you will just be much sicker. And, the flu tends to lead to more complications for certain people. So you're more likely to end up with maybe a pneumonia or end up in the ICU after having the flu than a common cold. Okay, so I'm going to recap the 5 differences between cold and flu. Number 1, the onset with a cold is going to be gradual. With the flu, it's going to be sudden. Number 2, body aches. You're generally not going to have a lot of body aches with a cold, but you're going to have a lot of body aches with the flu. Number 3, fatigue and weakness. This is very common with the flu, but not with a cold. I've been doing the cold first, so let me flip that around. Fatigue and weakness are rare with a cold, but they're very common with the flu. Number 4, fever and chills. That is not so common with a cold if you are a grown person. If we're talking about your child, they really might have fever and chills and still have a cold. But if it's you and you got fever and chills, probably more likely that you have the flu. And number 5, headaches. You're less likely to have headaches with a regular cold than you do with the flu. But remember that if you do have a fever, a lot of times, or if your child has a fever, that can lead to having a headache. Okay, so hopefully these tips will help you. And, I had to go through this really quickly, but I am going to do a Q&A about cold and flu over on my in my group, The Holistic Huddle. So please do go over and join the group if you haven't. It's www.theholistichuddle.com. And I will be doing something in the next few days. I'm not sure exactly when, but I will be going live in the next few days. Excuse me. Well, there's a little bit of my cough. In that group, I will definitely be going live to share some more about cold and flu and some of the things that you can do if you come down with either. Okay, so thank you for joining me tonight, and I'm going to bid you farewell. I am Dr. Pam Middleton, your virtual holistic physician. Through my books, programs, and services, I help families achieve health and wellness through inside-out healing. Bye-bye. Stay well.